Hi, my name is John.
And my name is Lloyd.
And we're the hosts of The Pint,
a pop culture podcast.
Lloyd, if you had to tell any of the people out there that might be listening to The Pint for the first time about anything unsavory or disconcerting we might do on the show, what would you warn them about?
Well, sometimes we drop spoilers, and sometimes we swear like motherfucking sailors.
Fuck yeah, we do. You heard it from him. You've been warned.
Listen in.
Attack formations! Defend the fleet! Blue Squadron, get to the surface before they close that gate! Copy you, Admiral. Blue Squadron, on me!
Welcome to a brand new episode of The Pint, a pop culture podcast. My name is John.
I'm Vinny.
Vinny is here today to talk to me all about a Star Wars film. That's right, we're doing one of the Star Wars movies, something that we really haven't done here on The Pint. We did Solo a few years ago. And we did The Last Jedi when it first came out, and it was kind of before we were really doing movie stuff. So really, we haven't really touched upon a lot. Oh, wait, no, we did The Phantom Menace as well with our buddies over at Forgotten Cinema. So this is the fourth, technically, of the Star Wars oeuvre. And we're doing this episode because our Pint Insider Amanda K is a big nerd, man. She loves Star Wars. She loves all kinds of... We did the last episode we did for her was the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie.
Okay.
That was a tough one. That was a tough one for me, but Amanda loves that stuff, and she's a big Star Wars fan, and we hadn't done an episode for her in a while. So, Amanda, this is an insider dedication for you. And I picked Vinny to do this one with maybe solely on the fact that Vinny has an R2-D2 tattoo. And
I do. Where is it? Right there.
There it is.
It's upside down now, but...
Right on his wrist, and I said, Vinny, are you actually a Star Wars fan, or is that, like, ironic? You know, or is it some kind of, like, irony? And you said you are, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, so? I used to be a really, really big Star Wars fan. When the original, the original trilogy was out, when I was a kid, like, it came down to at a certain point, I'm a big Star Wars fan. It came down to when I was, I think, like, 10 or something like that. I mowed a bunch of lawns. I tried to get, a bunch of money together so I could buy the VHS trilogy together. It was the gold and the silver.
I have the gold one right now wrapped.
Oh, you do?
I went to my, everybody that listens to the show knows my dad just passed away. So both my parents passed away in the last year, and going through their stuff, they have a sealed, my mom bought shit like that just because I think she thought it would be worth a lot of money. So I continue your story, but just you said that, I'm like, and
you're like, I have that. It's
I have
back
it.
There.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to get that really bad, and then it was before the internet was very super prevalent. At least, we used to just go on there and fuck around or whatever. But I had heard that they changed some stuff, so I didn't know there was the whole thing with all the CG and whatnot, and they changed some certain things. So I ended up getting the Die Hard trilogy instead.
Oh, okay.
So when it came down to it, swearing and boobs and guns was a little bit more important than Star Wars. But it was right there. It was a hard decision. But yeah, I love Star Wars. I've been watching it for years. I've done after the prequels came out a few times. Me and a buddy did the whole run in one sitting.
Oh, I've never done that. Okay, the first six.
Yeah. Okay. So. The first year we did it chronologically, according, to the movies themselves, which is a little hard because by the time we got to the original trilogy, we were a little tired and we were throwing pillows at each other. So we decided to do it reverse next year, which we did. But then it was a little bit of a letdown by the time we got to the end. We ended up, I think the next time, instead of doing the prequels, we watched the Red Letter Media reviews, which are almost just as long as the movies themselves.
Okay.
For the prequels, and then watched the original trilogy, which was, I think that was the best that came out so far. But now there's way too many movies, obviously. You said you guys did 4, which you were like, we haven't done that much, but you did 4, but that's a drop in the bucket for Star Wars as far as media goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, years ago when I was on my buddy Vinny's podcast From the Hip, he had procured a supercut, a fan-made supercut of the first of the prequel trilogy. And it mashes everything together. And we watched that and did that as a review. And I can tell you for 100% sure, because a lot of it, whoever did this, they moved scenes around and just eliminated a lot of stuff. Attack of the Clones is just gutted, in that thing.
I can imagine.
It was a better watch. And just kind of ironically, this is being recorded in April. Right now, I think today is Sunday. I think Friday, they re-released Revenge of the Sith to theaters for its 20th anniversary. So,
I saw something about that. Hayden Christensen was doing like a intro or something.
I don't know. I hate, man, that was the one. Everybody hates Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
I don't think Attack of the Clones is good. I hated Revenge of the Sith. Like,
oh, really?
I hated it. It did nothing for me. Thought maybe I was being harsh. And a buddy of mine who hadn't seen it, you want to go see that? I haven't seen it yet. I was like, sure, I'll go again. I didn't like it, but maybe I'm wrong. And I was not wrong. I think I fell asleep in the theater for that. And this is back in the days before I was, kind of like getting sleepy during movies. I was a younger man 20 years ago. That movie just does not do it for me. But all that aside, we're not talking about any of the stuff we just kind of talked about. We're talking about one of the 2 movies, that was made in the Disney era. That is a adjacent story. As a matter of fact, the official title is argued as to whether this movie we're going to talk about is Rogue One or Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. On the screen, it just says Rogue One, but anywhere you look it up, it's basically Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. So let's get into that.
I am ready to fucking party.
I guess we're going to party.
Fuck yeah!
All right. So Rogue One: A Star Wars Story came out on December 16th of 2016. 1 year after The Force Awakens. So Force Awakens, Rogue One, year later, Last Jedi, and then after that was Solo. So they were kind of popping them in between the new trilogy. Directed by Gareth Edwards, who made the 2014 Godzilla film. Before that, he made a movie called Monsters, which is actually really good, and he kind of got the Godzilla movie based on that. And he is going to be doing the upcoming, this summer, Jurassic World Rebirth film. Which, if I go see it, I will be breaking a promise to myself, because I saw Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom in the theaters, and I really fucking hated it. And I said, I'm not going to see another one in the theaters. I'm done. A podcaster friend of mine, Billy from We Watched the Thing, asked me to do Dominion a few years ago, and that was 17 times fucking worse, in my opinion. And now this one, the trailer looks good, but I just feel like I can't be fooled anymore. But Gareth Edwards has done some good stuff, so there is a lot of controversy over how much of this movie he directed. And there's a lot of little bits and pieces. The trailer showed a ton of things in the trailer that were not in the final product. Eventually, they brought in one of the screenplay writers to come in and direct reshoots for 5 weeks. That's Tony Gilroy. Tony Gilroy is the guy who wrote films and directed Michael Clayton, which is a great George Clooney movie.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Awesome. The Bourne Legacy he wrote and directed, the one with Jeremy Renner, but he also wrote the first 3 Bourne films. So they brought him in to rewrite this thing, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but then they brought him in to reshoot and write a new ending on the fly, supposedly. He went on a podcast years ago and kind of shit on Gareth Edwards and said that he was brought in because this movie was a massive mess. Gareth Edwards has never said a bad word about Tony Gilroy and has always claimed that he was just brought in to help, and that during the 5 weeks of reshoots, Gareth Edwards was supposedly also there, is what Gareth Edwards says, that he helped along with all the final shoots, but other people say it was all Gilroy. And of course, this is Disney, so there's never going to be a special edition. We're never going to see the Gareth Edwards cut. I know, over WB, they love to do that shit with Zack Snyder. We're not going to get that here. So, all right. So here's how the writing of this film went. Let's see. The story was by a guy named John Knoll, who is a VFX kind of legend. in Hollywood. He worked on The Hunt for Red October, Deep Blue Sea, a bunch of things, Hook, all kinds of stuff.
Oof.
He worked on the prequel trilogy while they were filming in Australia. At that time, Lucasfilm was talking about making a TV show called Star Wars Underworld, which would have been 20 years before the Star Wars TV shows actually started, or, maybe 15 years. He had an idea for a bunch of rebels that were to steal the plans to the Death Star. That was his idea. So they like that idea for the show, but they decide they're not going to do the show. So they bring in a guy named Gary Whitta, who is the editor-in-chief to this day, even as a matter of fact, of PC Gamer magazine. And he wrote a couple movies too, The Book of Eli with Denzel Washington and After Earth, the M. Night Shyamalan thing I've never seen.
I've seen both of those. Yeah. One is much better than the other. Not to say it's great, but it's definitely better than the other one.
Yeah, I can imagine which one you mean too. So Gary Whitta actually wrote into a screenplay, and then they brought Tony Gilroy in to shape it all up into what we eventually got. It was filmed in Iceland. It was filmed on Lanu Atoll in the Maldives. I can't take credit for this joke, but I was reading the reviews on Letterboxd of some people, and someone put, they finally got tired of filming these movies in freezing ass, like cold places or shithole deserts. So someone said, let's have a Bahamas planet. And that's where this movie ends, is in the Maldives on essentially a Bahamas planet, and all over England, including, because I love to say English town names, Hertfordshire and Hampshire. It was filmed between August of 2015 to February of 2016, and the 5 weeks of reshoots, which include the Vader slaughter scene at the end that was added between June. Yeah, that was not original. Between June and August of 2016. So that's some of your production information. Let's talk about who's in the scene. Let's get into the cast.
Assemble your crew.
All right. So as our lead character, Jyn Erso, we have Felicity Jones. Man, I hate to say this, but there's something about Felicity Jones and the girl who plays Rey. What's her name?
Daisy
Ridley. They're interchangeably boring to me. I hate, they're just too white. They're two British white chicks to me. I hate to say that out loud, but I don't know.
I have the opposite there where Daisy Ridley doesn't really do anything for me, but I love Felicity Jones. I don't know. She's kind of interchangeable with a couple other girls. Before when I was watching it, I had forgotten who she was, like who the actress who played her was. And I asked Laura, and I was like, "Is that Lily Collins?" And she's like, "No, that's Felicity Jones." And I was like, "Oh, that's right." But she sort of has a couple of at one point I was like, "Is Rogue One the one with Imogen Poots in it?" I can't remember. There's a few of them, but Felicity Jones, I specifically like. She was in a movie a while ago called Flashbacks of a Fool with Daniel Craig.
Okay. And
there's a dancing scene. They dance to Roxy Music. What's the name of the song? I got it here. There's If There Is Something, I think. I don't know. And I watched it when I was, I'm going to say younger, but the movie is 15 years old at this point, I'm sure. But yeah, I really liked her from that moment on. And I've watched a few different things that she's done. She did another movie with Anton Yelchin, I think, before his car attacked him.
His car did attack him.
It's a mean car. Mean car.
You got to put that thing in park, man. You got to put it in park. Yeah, I don't know. She's not bad. She's actually good in this, but there's something about her that I don't know. And Daisy Ridley's the same, man.
Very bland milquetoast sort of.
Very milquetoast. She was in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, Inferno, the Dan Brown Da Vinci.
Oh, that's right. She's with Tom Hanks and okay. Yeah.
And most recently, she is in the Brutalist, which just won a bunch of awards.
I have not seen that yet.
Well, do you have the spare 4 fucking hours to watch a movie? I don't have.
I got time, but usually I fall asleep. I fell asleep, I think 4 or 5 times during this movie. Not to say that I liked it or didn't like it. That's just how things are these days. No,
I get it. I like, without showing my hands, I like this movie, and I had to rewatch the assassination attempt scene through the Rebel Alliance argument scene, which is like about a 15 minute period in the middle of the movie, because I woke up on the flight to Scarif again. So, Diego Luna plays Cassian Andor, Rebel fighter, also the star of Andor, the TV show, which season 2 just started last week. So again, timely. Yeah. Have not seen it yet. Season 1 I thought was fucking awesome. It was probably my favorite of the Star Wars television shows.
Oh, wow.
This movie and that show you a side of, Star Wars that's actually about the wars and the politics behind it. He was in, Andor, as I said, Elysium, and also the 2017 Flatliners.
I forgot he was in those. There's an older movie that has I think it had some acclaim, Y Tu Mama Tambien.
Oh, I've seen that.
I remember him from that. He does a lot of stuff with, why can't I remember his name now? The guy who was in Werewolf by Night, who played...
Oh, Diego Luna and Gael Garcelle, Bernal.
Gael Garcia Bernal. They did a lot of stuff together, I think. Another one I liked was Rudo e Cursi, where they play like brothers who become professional soccer footballers, and they like have a very contentious relationship, but it's sort of a comedy and everything. They do really well together, but I think out of the two of them, I think he's probably maybe got the edge a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I like him quite a bit. He's really good in this movie. He's really, really, really good in this movie. Professional bad guy, Ben Mendelsohn, plays Empire goon Orson Krennic. You might know him from things such as The Dark Knight Rises, Ready Player One, and Captain Marvel. All three of those movies, he plays a bad guy in them. Although, spoiler for Captain Marvel, he's actually a good guy, but that movie sucks, and I'm not like ruining it for you. Mads
that's
Mikkelsen.
Right. I forgot about that.
He's the Skrull. Yeah, he's the Skrull.
He's in a really great movie called Animal Kingdom.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, if you get a chance, watch that. It's really good. He plays another like maybe bad guy. I don't want to give anything away, but
okay.
He's great in that, and I think they made like a TV show on TBS about it or something.
Mads Mikkelsen plays Galen Erso. He is the scientist who's working for the Empire, also the father of Jyn Erso. You know him from Casino Royale. You know him from the TV show Hannibal, where he actually amazingly probably has redefined the role of Hannibal Lecter, even when most people think of Anthony Hopkins. That was a great show. Should have been
not Brian Cox.
Brian Cox is great too. All three actors should have played him. All three actors. He was also in Doctor Strange. As the bad guy.
Riz, again.
He's the bad guy.
He's got bad guy face.
He does have bad guy face. He's a good guy in this, but he has bad guy face. Riz Ahmed plays Bodhi Rook. He was in the film Nightcrawler with a very creepy Jake Gyllenhaal.
I forgot about him in that.
Yeah, he's his partner. Or his,
Yeah.
He was in Jason Bourne, the final Bourne film that came out, and he was the bad guy in the terrible Sony Marvel film Venom. That was
very disappointing.
Yes, it was. Donnie Yen plays Chirrut Imwe. I'm going to name some of his American films, but this guy is like a Hong Kong legend. He was in Blade 2. He was in John Wick 4. And he is in the Ip Man series. Nominated and won many, many, many action choreography awards. He is not just an actor, but he's also a guy that does all the stunt sequences in a lot of movies as well. Forrest Whitaker plays Saw Gerrera, old school rebel he's so fucking rebellious. The rebellion doesn't want anything to do with him.
I was gonna say he's an extremist. They're like, he's so rebel, we can't deal with him.
Yeah, we're the rebels, and you're too rebel to rebel with us.
You're just way out there, man. You got your Clarence William III haircut, and like, it's too crazy, man. You're
pretty much Darth Vader at this point.
Yeah.
You probably know him from a million things: Bloodsport, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and Ghost Dog, Way of the Samurai, if you've ever seen that one.
I have him as Ghost Dog in all my notes.
Just Ghost Dog,
I was like, Ghost Dog does this. Ghost Dog's too extreme for the rebels.
He is too extreme. Alan Tudyk is the voice of K2SO, a reprogrammed Imperial droid. You probably know him. He's on a TV show that's very popular. I've never seen it, called Resident Alien.
Oh yeah, where he's like the alien, and
he lives in a small
president.
town. Yeah, like he lives as a doctor or something in a small town.
Yeah, it looks good, but I don't really do TV shows. So
I'm the same. If I was into that kind of thing, I'd probably watch it, but I just don't have the time for it. Dodgeball, a true underdog story. He's Steve the Pirate, and of course, probably his biggest, I would say, credit, or at least things people know him for, as Wash from Firefly / Serenity.
Also in Frozen.
And yes, and Frozen as well. That's right. All right, so that is our cast. Let's set it up here. Vinny, first things first, no opening crawl. They decided not to do that for these side story movies. I'm fine with that.
To like set it apart, I guess.
Yeah, they have to do something. One and done, right? It's got to be one and done.
Yeah. They also have the music sting's not there, which also sets it apart, but the music is familiar. So it's like you're getting into a world but it's not like you've experienced it before.
Right. And the music in this one, this is the first, I read this stat, so I'm assuming they might be talking about that Clone Wars movie. This is the first live action theatrical Star Wars movie that John Williams did not score. It was Michael Giacchino, who's done a bunch of stuff, but it made it a point to say live action. And that Star Wars, the Clone Wars cartoon movie came out in theaters a few years before this. So I'm assuming John Williams probably didn't do that either. But,
like a technicality kind of thing.
So they wanted to put it aside. So Michael Giacchino does a good job, though. There's a lot of like the themes in here. The music is very good. So we start off on a planet, this barren ass planet. The Empire shows up, and we go to what's like little huts, like almost like what Luke lived in, but it's not a desert planet. It's kind of, a green mountainous planet. And we meet a small family, Galen Erso, his wife, and his little daughter, Jin, who's probably like 6 or 7 years old. And this Imperial shuttle lands, and out comes Orson Krennic, who we find out is like a weapons supervisor for the Empire. He's power mad. He's one of these fucking douchebag power mad bad guys. With his, I must say, being a Star Wars fan my whole life, even though I'm much removed from it now, I love the variants they do on Stormtroopers. It's always one of my favorite things. They're called the Death Troopers. His squad is just badass looking. They're all black and sleek, and I guess you're supposed to be inferred that they're the best of the best. Now, we all know that Stormtroopers aren't really that good to begin with, but maybe these guys are actually good enough, right?
That's just like, winning the gold medal and, whatever.
Yeah. So the Orson Krennic shows up, and he encounters Galen Erso. And we determine from their conversation that Erso was a Imperial. He's some form of scientist, and he has been supposedly living on his own for many years. He tells Krennic that his wife has died, and he's basically lying to him because he's trying to save everybody. He's already told his wife to get their young kid to like a safe house, which is in a cave close by, and we'll get to that. But the wife, it's almost, I don't want to put it to the level of, but it's almost like that beginning scene of Inglourious Bastards, right? Like where they both know the game they're playing.
Yes.
Krennic does not believe him one bit. And it gets even worse, Vinny, when the wife shows up with what? What does she show up with?
She's like, oh, I got a little baby here. And then all of a sudden she off comes the cloth and it's a gun.
Yeah.
So like she's coming out firing like right away. She doesn't literally fire, but she comes out right after it's what, like 30 seconds after he's like, oh, my wife, she died. Yeah, she's definitely dead. Well, I actually wrote this down because they're great lines, and he doesn't really have any the rest of the movie, which is sort of weird, but I kind of like he's like sort of a, joking, comical bad guy in the beginning, but he goes, oh, look, here's Lyra back from the dead. It's a miracle.
Yeah. I laughed at that too. And Erso Galen is just like, baby, put the gun down. Like,
yeah, like it's not, yeah.
Yeah, but she does not want to go back to the Empire lifestyle and, or subject her kid to that. And we see flashbacks later on that kind of show that they were in the Empire, and, he eventually, he got a case of the rebels and decided he wasn't going to fight them, but he wanted to disappear. So
yeah, he's like, I don't want anything to do with this.
Right. I don't want to be part of what you guys are doing. And in the fray where this all starts, Krennic just orders his men to kill the wife. And the young girl, Jin, sees this from kind of afar. So they kill the wife, they capture Galen, and they send the stormtroopers, the death troopers after the little girl. She gets into a cave. She finds this like pre-manufactured rock that has an entryway. She goes into it. They can't find her because they're stormtroopers.
Yeah, he says at one point, my other favorite line that he has, he goes, "They have a child. Find it."
Yes, I caught that. Find it. I like that because that's very much indicative of this character, right? Like, find it.
Yeah, and they show you before, he knows it wasn't like they moved away and then had the kid.
Right, no,
she was there at the Empire. He knows they have a daughter, and he's just like, yeah, find the child. Just find it.
Yeah, he's a creep. So that ends up happening. They go take him away, and eventually we see that she gets recovered by the contact that Galen Erso's wife had made, which is Saw Gerrera, who at this point, the one bit we see him of when he's younger, he still has, short hair. He doesn't appear to be like 3/4 robot. So that's where that kind of ends. And then we kind of bounce to current time, and we just do a quick catch up with several different characters. We catch up with Jyn, and we find out that she's like on some kind of like Imperial like chain gang, and she's
sleeping
like
next to a weird creepy crawly.
Yeah, he's making some kind of like snoring sounds, and she's just
he's got
staring at him
all over the place because you got to have like things moving everywhere in the George Lucas tradition. Like there's always something moving on screen.
This is a Star War after all.
Yeah.
So we meet her, and we also end up meeting Cassian Andor, who is a rebel, and he is on a planet where he is finding out from an informant that a Imperial pilot has apparently defected to the rebel side to Saw Gerrera, and we're going to see that happen in a minute anyways, because what this Imperial pilot is claiming, or what information is claiming, is that the pilot has information on this super weapon that the Empire has been planning. Spoiler alert, this movie's all about the Death Star. If you didn't know, but now you know. So he is meeting with one of his informants, and they're on this planet where it's kind of like, essentially, it's like one of those like very busy downtown Star Wars areas. Like you said, everything's moving around, and they get cornered by a couple of stormtroopers. Cassian ends up killing these two stormtroopers. And then, like what I remember in the theaters being a shocking moment, he shoots the informant in the back.
Yeah, I saw this in the theaters. I did not remember that part at all because this time watching it, I was just like, oh, he's just going to flat out murder this guy that was helping him. I mean, he wasn't the most helpful guy in the world, and he was with the Empire, but still, like, he's helping you out and you just shoot him in the back.
See, I don't think that the guy was from the Empire. I think the guy was also...
Oh, so like it's even worse then.
I think the guy was also some form of rebel or spy, and I think the reason he killed him is because he didn't want him to get caught because he knew what was happening. So I think
he wanted them to spill the beans.
He basically took the information and then kills this guy. And then there's a scene, we'll kind of go there later, but there's a scene much later in the movie where Cassian says, like, I have done awful fucking things for this rebellion. And so have all these other guys. There's a scene at the end, and we'll get there, but this way we'll kind of pave it, where there's like this speech. The rebels don't want to do what they have to do, but like he knows he has to because this is our shot. And I didn't do the shit I've done to not take the shot we have to take. So
just to be a coward and run away and hide.
But yeah, like people want to like argue the fact of like, okay, Han did shoot first, and he did shoot first. But, of course, the story is that he then goes on to become a general in the rebellion and ends up like destroying the Death Star 2 times, essentially, in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But like, this is also the same thing. Like, we're seeing a character that like, just because he's the protagonist in our movie doesn't mean he's a hero. He's a guy that's doing what he has to do to survive. And I will say, if you want to learn more about all that stuff, you've got to check out the Andor show. Really builds up all that stuff. So we meet him, and then we go back to Jyn for a little bit, and we find out that Jyn on her convoy, it has been taken over, and it is a rescue attempt to get her. Who's rescuing them, Vinny? Who's rescuing her?
I believe it's the rebels come in to rescue her, or
yes, it's K2SO.
Yeah, they want to take her in for questioning. my favorite part of the movie, whereas somebody's coming to rescue you, you immediately attack them.
Yeah.
But then this happened. She runs straight out of the, it's like a transport, some sort of transport for, going in the mines or whatever. She's grabbed by the Alan Tudyk robot and choke slammed onto the ground.
Yeah. Now, I am not a fan, I never have been, of C-3PO. He annoys me. But I've got to say, and I know Star Wars in history has tried to make these kind of funny or cute droid characters. Yeah. I think K2SO works perfectly well for me. What do you think?
I said before, I was like, this is by far, when I was watching it, Laura actually stayed awake through the entirety of the movie last night. And then I had to come downstairs, I think at, 3 or whatever it is. I wake up at weird times and watch the rest of it. I was like, he's always the best part. I said, he's the best part of this movie by far. And she said, he's always the best part of every movie he's in, which my only argument is, I think, Dodgeball, which I say Rip Torn / Hank Azaria is the best part of that movie.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, agreed.
But he's just great in this. He's got one-liners. I don't feel it's too forced either. Like, a lot of times I feel things are crowbarred in, especially the comedy. And I think it works with, I don't know if it's exactly the way it's written or his delivery or the way the character is, but this didn't feel forced to me.
Right. I compare him in my head to, and I don't know whether you like it or not, but have you ever seen Interstellar?
I have not, no.
Okay. In Interstellar, there's a couple robots they have on the ship, and there's a routine joke about how their humor parameters are set, where he keeps on telling him, bring your parameters down a little bit. And I feel like this reminds me of that, because K2SO is loyal as shit to Cassian.
Yeah, it's like his girlfriend or wife.
100%. He has been reprogrammed by the rebellion, but everything he says is still very plaintive and matter of fact. There's one point at the end where they're having this great moment where, he says to Jen, he goes, "I'm going with you to Scarif on the mission." And she's kind of nodding, and he's like, "Because Cassian told me I had to." Stuff like that. They do a good job with him. So she gets rescued by the rebellion, and they bring her in to question her. I'm sorry, you want to say something?
No. I was just saying rescued with quotation marks.
Yeah.
Finger quotes, rescued.
Yeah.
Because they want to grill her, so yeah.
Yeah. They want to know what she knows because they know who her father was, and they have also gotten word through Cassian that this plan is happening. So they bring in the daughter of Galen Erso, and she basically tells them, "I haven't seen my father in 20 years, since that day, 15 years, I think she says."
Yeah.
And the other half of it is they're kind of like, "Well, don't you want to help?" And she's very, what is that fucking word? I can't think of that word. She's very much whatever about the rebellion. She is just literally
apathetic about it.
Apathetic. That's 100% the fucking word. She's super apathetic about it.
I only know because that's my mood 90% of the time.
Is that?
Yes.
But yeah, so she is just kind of okay, that's, whatever. We're going to send Cassian on a mission to the city of Jeddah, which is the last temple city of the Jedi, apparently. That's kind of outside of canon. They don't really talk about it in the movie. They do mention it's the last Jedi stronghold.
And also it's got a gigantic Jedi statue in the sand, which yes. I'm painted as the kind of people they are. I mean, maybe in the prequels it's a little bit different, but when Obi-Wan Kenobi shows up in episode 4, I'm not thinking, oh, this is a guy who is part of something that they would love big gigantic statues of themselves in a temple. They're going to celebrate that. I feel they're more like monks, or they should,
Yeah, I wonder if that was supposed to be yeah, I get what you're saying. I wonder if that statue was supposed to have been something that was built after the time of the Jedi.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Because we have, we'll get there in one second, but they want her to go along with Cassian and K2SO because they know that this pilot has been brought to Saw Gerrera. Saw Gerrera is this extremist that they have no contact with. And they want to use Jyn not only for her information about her dad, which she really has none, but because she was raised by Saw Gerrera. She got to a point where she turned 15, 16, 17, and he kind of abandoned her. And so that's partially the reason why she's apathetic towards the rebellion. She kind of lost everything, and then she lost everything again. So she goes along with them to Jeddah City, and it's kind of on this deserty type planet, but the city itself is like on a raised, almost mountainous structure, like a hillside. There is a Star Destroyer floating above the city because there apparently has been so much terrorism, acts of terrorism, and theft of things that the Empire just wants to keep an eye on everything going on over there at that moment.
And it's close too. I felt like that's right above the city. That would, I feel like, block out a lot of the sun.
Yeah.
So it would be a very shaded, it's not like way up. It's for something that, is usually in space and gigantic in space. It's just right over the city. Just like, oh, remember, if you forgot that we're here, just in case you forgot.
Right. So they go into the city. They go to check everything out. They go to meet up and try to find someone that can get them to Saw Gerrera. Now, Saw Gerrera, meanwhile, has intercepted the Bodhi Rook character, the Imperial pilot. He has surrendered himself to him. And when he gets to Saw's compound, he kind of learns that Saw is hardcore. Saw, at this point, seems to have mechanical legs on both sides. There's one point where he's talking to him and he has to use like a rebreather to breathe, and it's 100% Darth Vader sounds.
Yeah, it is.
We're totally meant to realize that this guy is going the same route in terms of like losing his body piece by piece.
He's rebel Darth Vader.
He is. He's the good guy's Darth Vader. He also says at one point that he doesn't know whether he could trust Bodhi or not. So how does he determine, Vinny, whether Bodhi is trustworthy?
Big, slimy, icky CG tentacle monster.
Yeah,
comes in and like reads his mind, or I don't know. It's like a weird, like almost body horror kind of thing. He's like, oh, this thing's gonna come in here and tell me whether you're being straight with me or not. And they just make it where I think he's like sitting down with his back against the wall, and this big CG slimy monster just comes straight at him with his tentacles all over the place. And I think that's supposed to be a moment of, at least to make you a little bit nervous, where you're like, what are they going to do to this guy? What are the good guys going to do to this guy?
Yeah, this is supposedly the good guy. So, okay, so that's what's happening to Bodhi. He's in this kind of prison, and he's being checked out by Saw Gerrera. Now, we go back to Jeddah City, and in their travels, we see that this is a city that's in like kind of like a lockdown, right? And of course, it's Star Wars. We have to have callbacks. So they bump into like Dr. Freakazoid and Walrus Man.
Yeah.
Who was always looking to pick a fight.
Yeah, with everybody. Also, moments before, they have that, I don't know what the name of the character is, like the very silver, like chromed robot with like the black
yes, the
visor, where I was like, oh, there. And throughout the movie, obviously, they're doing things, which I found weird, because like you'll see, the ship they come in the beginning is like Leia's ship, only slightly different. They have stuff throughout, which I'm almost surprised that Andor doesn't, after he kills the stormtroopers, doesn't take the armor and put it on to like escape the city. I mean, they do something like that a little bit later, but I'm surprised there's not like a callback, because there's so many like, hey, there's that, hey, there's that, hey, there, they have to. But yeah, they have the silver robot there, and then the two of them. I guess if you saw this before, you'd be like, oh, that guy's gonna die.
Yeah, and again, he tries to pick a fight with them. They have to calm him down. K2SO has stayed at the ship because they don't want him to cause any kind of, he's reprogrammed, so they don't want him to have to deal with Imperials. They come across a couple of, what seems to be like a monk, and then what seems to be like a guy with the fucking coolest gun in space, and a vacuum cleaner. Very cool. A vacuum cleaner attached to his back. This is Shirat Imwe and Baze Malbus. And I read this. I don't know if this is true, but I can picture this being true. I read that in the original script, these were supposed to be CGI'd like alien characters. What I read was Disney gave these jobs to live action Chinese actors to appease China. to make money over there.
It makes sense. It makes sense. I mean, and they're great in the role. I don't feel like it's too much pandering, I guess, because they're both really good.
Yeah. And again, I don't know if that's 100% true. I just read that, and I do know stuff like that does happen.
Well, it's Disney, so I'm sure 99% probably true. I would be surprised if it wasn't, but.
And the other big thing with these two guys is like, there's a whole community out there that's like, well, they're obviously like gay lovers, and it's like, don't you know what bros are like? You
can have another friend. I'm friends with you. I don't have to touch your leg all the time.
100%. Like how their endings happen at the end of this movie is very like heartfelt, but that doesn't mean they were in
friends.
love. They're buddies. They're like, and again, if they were to be gay, there's no problem with that. But like, we don't have to make everything about like relationships. Like, so we meet these
sometimes bros just hang out, and you can love somebody without being in love with them.
100%.
Like, I'm not gonna spoon with my best friend Mark or anything. Like, maybe sometimes if it's really cold.
Yeah, but, I mean, just cold enough. Just cold enough.
It's just cold enough, and you're staying in a tent or something, but
with pants on.
It doesn't have to turn into Brokeback Mountain.
No.
Just automatically.
No, not every time at least. Not every time. So we meet these two, and these guys are, one of them is active and one of them is supposedly lapsed. They're called the Guardians of the Wills. WHILLS. Now, the reason I know that is because in the original Star Wars script that George Lucas wrote 150 years ago, the Force was called the Wills at one point.
Interesting.
So this was his way of kind of weaving that lore back into it. And these characters are not Force wielders. These are characters, Chirrut Imwe in particular, who is he believes in the Force. He feels like the Force is a real thing, but he can't wield it himself.
Yeah, he's not in control of it, but he's like aware of it. Like he's Force adjacent,
Force sensitive, Force adjacent.
Okay,
and he 100%. At one point was like a the nighttime manager of their their temple, which is now gone. And he's blind as well, so he's Daredevil. I
heard that was his choice. That was like his suggestion, Donnie Yen.
It's a good suggestion because
I don't know if it definitely was or not, but yeah, like you said, that was a good. If it is, it was a good suggestion. It added a lot to the character. I feel like I don't know.
Yeah, well, we end up getting a broken out riot action scene that ends up happening here. A lot of stuff is going on, and in it, the Donnie Yen character, Chirrut, he ends up taking out just like a fucking squadron of stormtroopers with his bow staff.
Yes.
And Baze Malbus ends up jumping in, and Baze Malbus has a laser rifle that has to be cocked like a shotgun. I don't know how that works. But it's fucking cool.
Like you said, it looks like a vacuum cleaner attached to his back.
He has a full on like round barreled Dyson vacuum cleaner on his back. I would not be surprised. To find out that that's what it was. So they end up kind of toasting some stormtroopers, getting into it with them, and through that, K2SO eventually saves them. Through all of that, they get folded in with Chirrut and Baze Malbus. Now, how do they end up going back into Saw's compound? Do they get captured, or does he go in there?
They after that whole thing, I only know because this is the part where I fell asleep like 5 times and kept having to rewind to, and this is only like half an hour into the movie, so it took me a while to. But right after they defeat all these stormtroopers, there is before that happens, there's like a rebel uprising. I don't know what to call it. There's a scuffle, like they have this plan. There's that little like mini CG dude.
Okay, yeah, that's what starts the riot.
Yeah, that starts the whole thing, and like they come in after that. They defeat all these stormtroopers, and they're like, "You're coming with us." I guess they don't fight back because they just took out a whole bunch of. I know it's a whole bunch of stormtroopers, but at the same time, like if you can take out a room full of them, like you can't beat up like 3. Super extremist rebels or whatever. But they take them like hostage kind of and bring them to Ghost Dog.
Yeah. So Ghost Dog's got his place in the side of like a mountain. And we got Bodhi there, and then everybody else is inside these cells. eventually, Saw Gerrera comes and realizes that it's Jyn Erso, and they have this entire discussion, like, she's like, you left me. And they have this whole discussion of rebellion and, what you're willing to do for what what you believe in. And, he kind of basically says, like, he knows that his time and all of this is not much longer. But they've got to figure out how to defeat the Empire at this point. Like he said, he makes it a point to say, could you look up every day and see an Imperial flag in the sky? And she just said, I just wouldn't look up. Like, she's very, again, apathetic towards all of this stuff. So as they're having this big scene, Compound starts to rumble. Well, here's why it starts to rumble. And Vinny's going to tell you, what exactly has happened up above.
They decide to finally test out the capabilities, to a small degree, apparently, because they say that. And also you're like, hey, in episode 4, didn't the entire planet explode? So in this one, they're just like, oh, we're just going to test it out like a little bit. But it still just like blows up the entirety of the city and everything around it. It sort of causes like, I'm going to say it causes like an earthquake, like a massive earthquake, it's sort of like a land tsunami.
Yeah. Yep. And before they decide to do this, we also see that Krennic is reporting directly to CGI. Grand Moff
my
Tarkin.
God.
I gotta say, in the theaters 10 years ago,
yeah,
I felt like, oh, that's a pretty fucking cool thing they did there. Now, I watched this with Heather. She had never seen this movie before. And through his scene, that first scene where they have their long discussion, she just leans over to me and she goes, is he CGI? And I went, yes.
You're like, he's dead. He's been dead for a while.
He died 50 years ago. So Vinny, they have this whole discussion, and we get CGI'd Grand Moff Tarkin. Would you have just rather had an different actor, like they did in Revenge of the Sith? There was a guy who played him, and they just made him up a little bit more to have like Peter Cushing's angular features and stuff. I would have rather had that.
I'm fine with that. What I think I would have done if it were me, you know what I like? I like the reflection.
Mm-hmm.
They show the reflection, and when I remember specifically when I saw it in the theater, I was like, oh, that's a great, like, that's really tasteful, I think, and a great way to bring him into the movie without actually bringing him into the movie. And you see the reflection, he's talking, and then he turns around and becomes a character in the movie. And I was just like, oh, they were so close. Like, they had the reflection, he was there, he was a character, he could have talked with his back to Ben Mendelsohn the whole time. And I think it would have been a good, like, character move. Like, it would have, you're not important to me. I'm not gonna, show my face to you. But the reflection's like just enough. And then when he turns around and becomes a character, that's when I was just like, even back then I was like, why did they do that? Like, you didn't have to, you had it right there. And later there's another moment, which you know what I'm talking about. But, I wish they did the same thing. Maybe like showed like part of the costume, and you could do like a voice. I think she was still alive at the time, so they could have done a voice.
100%. And
you don't have to do the full frontal. Makes it sound a little dirtier than it is. But yeah, I think with either of them, you didn't have to go the whole 9. We acknowledge they're there. Like, it's a kind of, like you said, the beginning of Glorious Bastards. We both know what kind of game we're playing. Everybody knows he's dead. Most people know he's dead. So we know we don't have the actual actor. But you're showing that he's, like, the character's there.
Right.
Without having to exploit, like, the actual person.
Yeah, 100% agreed. And to go to your, people have seen this movie. The final scene is a Leia cameo, 1977, Carrie Fisher. It's terrible. It looks so bad. And when the door opens at the end, when we get the Leia reveal, she's not facing the camera. It's just the white.
Yeah.
And Heather, this shows that people didn't need to see the face. Heather went, oh yeah, she knew it was Leia. And you literally could have just had her, like, again, maybe a reflection in like a space window.
Or just the like even from the costume, you know who it is.
It works.
You do a little side, like maybe of the face, like a hooded, sort of just with.
Yeah, when she turns around, man, it's like, oh no, that doesn't look great.
For CG, it's like, I think for CG, both of them are probably as good as I mean, it's sort of like, playing a AAA video game or something like that. The cutscenes they almost look realistic. And this is probably as realistic as you're going to get, at least for then. So they look great for what they are, but you can still tell it's not a person.
Right.
So, I mean, and it's especially not who it's supposed to be. It's just a representation of it. And I don't think I'm I'm not evolved enough to go, that's just a stand-in for what's supposed to be there. You can kind of do it yourself with your head or whatever.
Right. So we also get the added, I guess, plot structure or the plot idea that Krennic doesn't seem to get along with any of the uppers at work. And once the Death Star destroys Jeddah City, Grand Moff Tarkin just steals it from him. Like, he's like,
I'm in charge now.
Yeah, he's like, well, it worked because I guess nobody thought it was going to work. They put a lot of money into something they didn't believe was going to work.
Yeah,
he's the guy
lots
who
of time,
developed
lots of money. Aren't they on? Are they on the Death Star when they're?
Yeah.
Which, like, if you don't think it's going to work, I'm not going to be on the thing. What if it explodes?
And not, the other thing that I had never thought about in Star Wars lore before, because it happens twice in this movie, is the fact that the Death Star can move at like it moves. Like, I know that sounds dumb not to think of.
Yeah, no, but I never really think about it either. It's just, it's like a planet. They said, oh, it's a moon. No, it's not a moon, but it looks like a planet. So you think it kind of just sits there. Like, right. That's what I just
figured it sat in that one spot and that its lasers could reach as far as it needed to reach.
Yeah.
But there's two different points, this point and then later in the movie, where they say something giant's come out of hyperspace. And it's like, oh, fuck, that thing fucking go hyperspace? Like, move, get the fuck out of its way. So, Grand Moff Tarkin tries to steal this idea and all the glory and the accolades from Krennic. Jeddah City's blown up. The rebels escape just in time. Saw Gerrera does not. He just stays. I think he's at the point where he's like, I'm 99% robot. I can't breathe right anymore. So he stays as his city falls apart and they get away.
I don't understand. He's so passionate about the rebellion and helping. And all of a sudden he's just like, whatever. I'm throwing in the towel. You're like, you don't have to. There's a ship going to come pick you up. Like, they're going to bring you with them. And he's just like, whatever. I give up.
I honestly thought the same thing. I thought with this information that they have gleaned from we didn't mention it, but they see a message from Galen Erso.
Oh yeah, the
hologram.
Yeah,
that Bodhi has brought with him, and the hologram says, like, it's another one of those Star Wars moments where he basically explains, like, I did this because I had to, because if I didn't do it, they would do it without me. But at least if I was able to help build this Death Star, I could put in the weakness, and we all know what the weakness is. He's the one that set up the thermal port that's going to cause a chain reaction when Luke eventually shoots a proton torpedo into it, and he explains that. So now they're as close as they've ever been, and Saw's like, fuck it, I'm going to die in a landslide.
We're so close now. You get so close. Yeah, whatever. I don't care anymore. Like you said, I'm 90% robot. Whatever.
Yeah. So
the apathy... kind of she's so apathetic it left her and entered him, because all of a sudden, like, she is real into it and he is just like, I don't care I'm throwing in the towel. I had a good run.
Maybe they had a Freaky Friday moment before they left. Like she
so
is
like it's his soul, like, inside of her, and her soul is inside of him, and she's just like, I don't want to do this anymore. And all of a sudden he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. And she's like, oh, we have plans now. Maybe we could do something. Maybe things will go right. Maybe I do care about this.
They both turn to the camera at the same time and have that look on their face. Oh my God.
One of them turns into Lindsay Lohan and one of them turns into to Jamie Lee Curtis. Yeah.
They get away from the planet. And after they get away, they get a call from Rebel Base. Rebel Base tells them, that through this new information, they know that Galen Erso is on this, like, fucking rainy shit ass planet. And they tell Cassian Andor, this one rebel leader in particular, is like, it's an assassination mission. You're going to get there and you're going to kill him. Now, Jyn is going along because she thinks they're going to try to rescue him. So we get to this planet. It's really rainy, even though we have 2 pilots on here. The K2SO droid flies in too low and they end up crashing. Everybody survives, but a bunch of them stay on the ship, and Cassian and the pilot go to scope out this facility that Galen Erso is working at. The pilot knows this because this is where he worked out of. This is where he knew Galen from. As soon as they get off the ship, I think Chirrut and Baze start to get into Jin's head that they're not going to save him. They're going to go kill him. And then K2SO, his best friend, is like, his gun was in sniper position.
He just sells him right out.
I'm like, that's your best friend, dude. I'm like, okay.
At this point, he's sort of getting annoyed. Like I said before, it's like his, his other half. I think he's sort of getting annoyed. At first, he's annoyed at her. Like, he's like, we don't need this other person. We're good, just the two of us. Like, we don't need this other person. And then at a certain point, maybe he just gets mad at Andor and goes, he's sort of, I see he's kind of embracing this, before it was just, it was 2 and then 3, and now it's a whole band of merry characters. Maybe at this point he's just really annoyed that Andor is fine with this. And he's like, why are we bringing all these people with us? You know what? Yeah, he's going to kill your father. Why don't you go do something about it?
So she does. She tries to get ahead, and she does. And Cassian and Bodhi get up on kind of a ridge, and they see that Galen is out with what looks like a bunch of stormtroopers and also a bunch of science nerds out on this landing deck. And Krennic shows up in his shuttle and gets out, and he knows that Galen has given out the details. He's found this out, but he basically tells all of the scientists that are working on it that he knows one of them did it. Step forward, and we're gonna take care of this. And right before he's going to tell his stormtroopers to execute this one guy, Galen jumps out in front and says that I'm the one that did it. Meanwhile, Cassian has the drop on him with a sniper rifle, but is not able to do it. So we're starting to see the other way, where Jin's becoming more involved. Cassian's still involved, but now his heart is starting to get at him, where he's like, well, I don't want to kill her father, and maybe we could use him, but he's just not saying that. He's just not taking the shot. Krennic eventually just has to torture Galen. He has all the scientists killed. Now, who calls in the airstrike that the rebellion comes? I can't remember who contacts the rebellion. Somebody contacts the rebellion.
You're right, because I remember originally they're like, oh, we lost. That was what I had a problem with, because they say specifically the guy who tells Andor to kill Galen Erso is just like, oh, we lost contact with them. Like when they crash on the planet,
right?
He's like, we lost contact with the ship. Which, by the way, is that guy? Is he? I don't remember if he's from the original, if he's from episode 4 or not, because they do a really good job, I think, especially with some of the mustaches.
Yeah,
to kind of make you feel like, oh, this is it blends really well. Like everybody kind of looks like they're from the 70s a little bit outside of the main characters.
70s. Yeah.
They have the woman in the robes, like she looks like she's an ABBA, and then they got a bunch of other people, like dudes with mustaches and big hair and everything. And I was like, I think he might be not the actual guy, maybe himself, but
some of them actually are, because so Mon Mothma is a different actress. She's on Andor as well, and she was the actress who played Mon Mothma in Revenge of the Sith. General Dodonna is there, the guy with the white hair and the beard. And then later in the movie, there's a couple of the pilots that are actually old footage that was redone.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's a couple of them that are used. One of them is still alive, and he re-recorded new dialogue, but they used either a de-age
images.
And then the other was a gentleman who, I didn't write any of this down, but another one was a gentleman who had passed away that they just used stock footage they had found from Star Wars and added it in and made it work. So
okay. That's kind of cool then.
I get what you're saying. But yeah, the rebels eventually do come and just lay out this place. And in this melee, they drop a bomb that essentially blows Galen Erso up. Now Jyn is right there. She gets up in time to have this moment with him.
He lives just long enough, right?
He holds on just long enough just in case his daughter, who he hasn't seen in 20 years, might be on the ridge below where he is being murdered. But they have this moment, and he calls her Stardust. That's very important because it happens several times in the movie, and it's going to relate later on.
It's brought back again and again and again and again and again. It's a little Stardust is a little on the nose, I feel like, but it's Star Wars, so
yeah. It's got to be something like that. So the rebels end up leaving because he's dead. He obviously can't help them out. And then I think it's one of the best scenes in the movie is the argument they have on the ship where, Jin basically says, I know what you were going to do. You were going to assassinate my father. And
I know because your robot buddy told me so.
He told me when you went to go do it. And I like the fact that Cassian is such a, this is a guy who has to be duplicitous all the time for the rebellion's sake. He just says to her, you're in shock. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And she's like, I know what I'm talking about. And then she kind of gets holier than thou on him. And then he's like, your entirety of being a part of this rebellion is based on a whim you had. Like you felt like it one day. He's like, I've been doing this shit since I was 6 years old. I've been gang banging on Endor since I was 6 years old. Right. He is just telling her straight up, like, and it's a really good moment between the two of them. Another thing this movie does that's awesome, and I know I'll go through till the very end of the movie, they don't ever fucking make these two kiss, or there's definitely feelings in terms of like a respect and maybe a little bit more caring, but they don't go down that road of making them like become like, Han and fucking Leia. We didn't need that.
Even though like even though they are basically Han and Leia, they're not Han and Leia.
Right.
And, that moment though, Laura said that after one of them, she goes, "Oh, snap." There was the two lines where she says, "You might as well be a stormtrooper." They were like, "Oh."
Yeah.
And then he goes, "Oh, you're not the only one who lost something. Some of us just decided to do something about it."
Yeah.
You're like,
you do make it sound bitchier, but yeah, I do like that line. I do like that line.
I have a talent for that.
Agreed. All right, let's go over to the Rebel base. We are on Yavin 4, right? The Rebel base from Star Wars.
Yeah.
Where, as we just talked about for a minute, like Mon Mothma and all these people are chilling out.
The crew's all there. They're hanging. Everybody's
there. Vinny, we have a roundtable discussion with every rebel that's ever been in the rebellion in the room. What are they going back and forth about?
They're trying to decide exactly what to do. They got this information, and they're like, everybody, like you said, everybody's there. The crew is all there because they've gone back. So they're having a whole discussion about like Jyn Erso's side of things is we have this information. We got to go get him. We got to go attack. We got to get the information on the Death Star, and we got to bring the fight to them basically. And everybody else is like, that seems dangerous. Maybe we should kind of like run and hide. Is this that part?
Yeah,
that you're talking about?
100%.
Where they're kind of like, we could kind of spread out and like hide. It's a big universe. Like maybe they won't find us as much. And she's like, you've been fighting this whole time. Like this is your moment. Like she's got Ghost Dog in her. She's like, we need to fight him.
Jimmy Smits, who is straight out of Revenge of the Sith as Bail Organa.
It doesn't say anything for most of the movie.
He says one thing. He literally he says, like, we just can't give up on this thing that we started. But there's a lot of the rebels that are like, oh, they have a Death Star, I quit. Like, I quit. I'm out. Time out.
They bring out the trump card and they're just like, oh man, you got a blackjack. We're not even gonna try. Like, I don't even want to see if we can, meet halfway. It's not happening. I'm going home. We're folding.
The leaders of the rebellion basically squash her idea, and she comes out of the meeting room dejected, and she's talking to Chirwa and Baze Malbus, and Baze Malbus is like, well, you actually have people that are on your side, and he points over, and Cassian has kind of recruited a bunch of people, so now it's like
they're just standing all behind him,
right, just right there. And
don't say a word.
No, they're just there they're down. They're ready to go. They're the RTG crew. And that's where Cassian has his little speech about, we've all done terrible things. And if we did all these terrible things and it amounted to nothing, then what does that make us? So they go, okay, we're going to go. Now they have this stolen Imperial shuttle that they had taken from when they escaped, where Galen Erso was killed. So that's been impounded, and they all kind of like, stealthily jump on it. And the rebels are
100 people just kind of sneak into the ship.
Yeah, I think Bodhi actually says, he's like, it's going to be very crowded and uncomfortable, but I got nachos. Like, I don't know. It's a funny moment, but Bodhi answers the call from the rebels, and they're like, what are you guys doing on that ship? What's your call sign? And this is where we get the Rogue One answer. He makes up Rogue One, and they steal the ship. They steal the ship to go on the final mission. The final mission is the planet Scarif is a Imperial planet, and there is a compound where they keep all their information. It is like their remote hard drive, except it's in a giant building. This planet structurally has one thing going for it that makes it very hard to get in and out of. What is it, Vinny?
It's basically like the airlock thing from Spaceballs.
Yes.
Like they have, the planet is sort of surrounded in this, by like a shield or whatever. And they have basically this hole that opens up and closes, sort of like in Spaceballs where the vacuum sucks out all the air, except this is just for ships going in and out. The Death Star doesn't turn into a gigantic lady with a vacuum or anything.
No.
Yeah.
It's Mega Maid,
unfortunately.
She's gone from suck to blow. They decide they're going to get in there. They're going to try to bypass Imperial security. Now, a couple of the rebels still were into this. One of them in particular, I think it was General Radis. He is Admiral Akbar's great-grandfather. And
really? Okay.
No, I don't know. He's a Mon Calamari.
Yes.
He is a fucking badass motherfucker. General Radis is one of my favorite fucking characters in this movie, because he's just like, well, let's fight. Like, you pussies, motherfuckers, let's go.
Everybody gets a little bit of ghost dog in him. His eye wanders over to the side and he's like, let's fucking fight.
Let's fucking do it. So they all show up. To their surprise, the codes work, even though they should have been scrubbed, and they get through the one entry point of the planet. Now, it's
just like work, right? Like regular work. Like somebody's supposed to do their job. They're supposed to erase all the canceled codes and stuff like that. And somebody was like, I'm going to fuck off. And I'm going to go, I don't know what you do in Star Wars. I'm going to take off the rest of the day and go fishing. I could be scrubbing these records, but like they can wait another week, right?
They had 7 more to do, and it was 4:55, and they went home 5 minutes early because their space wife called and said they were doing Totina's pizza rolls that night. And he got so fucking excited he just went home. Yeah, this is why this whole thing happened. So typical Star Wars movie ending. We got to have a multi-layered action sequence going on, and this one is no different than most of the others. We have our.
Are we sure George didn't work on this?
Yeah, well, this one's definitely inspired for sure.
Yeah.
Jin and K2SO and Cassian end up stealing some Imperial costumes in a great scene.
So it happened eventually. I knew it was going to happen sooner or later. Maybe the first one was a fake out. You think he's going to take that, but no, instead he like climbs a wall or something.
Right. He's like, I will save that for later in the movie.
Yeah.
So they take some Imperial stuff, they get on, and they get inside the building, and their whole deal is that they are going to find the one file that they need, the Death Star file, find where it is. Meanwhile, also, our other rebellion characters, generally the ones that we met, like most of the Rogue One crew that have been through the whole movie, are going to be running interference on the beaches and fighting off the Empire, including AT-ATs, which is fucking an awesome scene. And then finally, there's going to be a space battle, because eventually the Rebel Alliance fucking balls up and sends the fleet out to help them out. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. But Vinny, I want to mention a scene that happens before all this, because Krennic does come here and show up because he knows what's going on. Do you think, like I think, now we mentioned before, there's the Vader scene at the very end, and that's an iconic scene, and, people still talk about that scene. Do you feel like I feel that they should never have had the first Vader scene in this movie because it kind of takes away from that moment?
Yeah, the later one definitely would have been more impactful. And you still get I'm sure they did. You said the later one was like a reshoot?
Yeah, it was during the reshoots, yeah.
So I feel like they didn't know they were going to have that moment, so they needed a Vader moment in here because the fan service throughout this movie is like, I wouldn't say they're super overdoing it, but like even at one point I saw like a Twi'lek like dancing hologram or whatever, and I was like, is that a Star Wars holiday like reference? Because the dancing Twi'lek, but and the guys in there from episode 4 where with the pig face guy and everything, but yeah, I was like, when they did the reshoot, like at that moment, they're like, well, we have that. Like, let's just take out this part before. If they needed to reshoot something real quick, they always do it with everything else. You throw in a line of dialogue here or there and they explain something away or whatever. And ultimately, I guess they didn't even really need that scene because nothing really changes because of it.
Krennic goes to Mustafar to see Vader to almost grovel and tell on Grand Moff Tarkin. Now, I get it. I understand that the Krennic character is insufferable and he's a shitbag.
Yeah.
But even Vader is annoyed by him. And at one point, it actually almost seems like that whole scene boils down to being able to have Vader do a dad joke where he force chokes him, and then says, "Don't choke on your aspirations."
Yeah. Yes. So he gets the dad pun in there.
Yeah, come on. So I think that scene is superfluous. They should have cut that. It would have made Vader's arrival at the end. Like
that would have been so impactful.
When the Star Destroyer shows up, there's a scene of Vader's helmet watching what happens. Even cut that out. The first time I want to see Vader in this movie is when that lightsaber lights up.
Yeah, you just see all of a sudden there's darkness and you just see, and then he's just cutting everybody down. That would have made this movie. That would have definitely given half point, maybe a full point more. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know how I would have been swayed if I had seen it like that. But you're definitely right. They don't need that scene at all with them in the weird Mustafar room or whatever.
Yeah, his chamber. All right, so to get through kind of what's going on the ground here, Jyn and Cassian get the tape, but it's to the sacrifice of K2SO, which is actually a pretty fucking sad moment because you like this guy.
Yeah, this was the one moment.
Yeah. This is one that like could almost get a tear. He saves them. He locks them into the vault they're working in. And while he gets overrun by stormtroopers, he kicks the fuck out of a ton of stormtroopers.
Oh, that's my favorite part. I don't know favorite part of the movie, but my favorite like action part of the movie, like the best kill or whatever, where he uses one stormtrooper to beat 2 other ones to death, and then does a Bond style turnaround to shoot a 4th one.
Yeah,
like he just grabs the gun off the console because Jyn Erso gives him a gun. He'd been complaining, I think, at one point about not having a gun.
And her having a gun.
Yeah. Because she wasn't supposed to have one. She's not a prisoner, but like kind of maybe. I don't know. And he's like, why do you have a gun? I don't have a gun. And she's like, you're a robot. You don't need a gun. Whatever. I just found... She does like the kid thing. She's like, I just found it somewhere. I just found it laying around. And he's like, all right, fine. You can keep it, whatever. But... yeah, and then he does the Bond-style turnaround and sort of clips the 4th one. And so he's doing a pretty good job at, like, holding the stormtroopers back.
Yeah, he does it for quite a while. He does he gets a lot of them, and he holds them back, but eventually he knows it's not going to last forever. He locks the vault. They figure out that the one that they're looking for is codenamed Stardust, and that's how it all comes into play.
Yeah, and then they put the green light on it, and yeah.
But as they get it and unlock it, it's this tall tower, and it's like a giant claw game, but with a lot less fun prizes.
Yeah.
But when K2SO gets killed, I think right at that same time, the power all goes out, so they have to climb. So they're climbing up this tower to manually retrieve these plans, and they also know that on the very top of this entire structure, there is a satellite dish that they could beam this information out to the ships on the other side of the shield but they have to make sure that the shield is open for the dish to work to get it out there. So the guys on the ground, Bodhi in particular, is attempting to set up communications, which he finally does, but to his chagrin, he is in the belly of his shuttle, and a stormtrooper throws a grenade in, so he gets blown up. Meanwhile, in another scene that I've got to admit actually fucking like makes my fucking like throat quiver a little. No tears, but throat quiver. It's Shure Erme, his death scene, and Baze Malbus' death scene. These two guys just got through fighting off a bunch of stormtroopers. They just got through fighting AT-ATs, which is a great scene where the rebel forces get through and manage to disable a bunch of AT-ATs. But they have to flip a switch that's going to enable the final part of enabling this communication to go through. And it's on a board, and they're stuck behind a bunker, and they can't get to it. And what is the phrase that Shura keeps saying throughout the whole movie to himself?
Like repeatedly over and over and over again.
Right.
He was I am one with the Force is with me, or something like that.
Yes,
or a Force is one with me, or something like that.
Yeah. That's like kind of his mantra. And
that he repeats over and over again.
And he just suddenly springs into action and starts to repeat that with his bow staff and walks straight forward to the switch on the board. And Baze is like begging him not to do it because he knows it's a death sentence. But this moment is fucking awesome because even though he's not a Force wielder, we have to believe either one of two things. The Force is working with him because the stormtroopers, I know the joke, but they can't hit him.
Yeah.
Nothing is hitting him as he's walking across this beach. Or number two, it's just one of those divine moments like they talk about like in Tombstone, that really supposedly happened when Curly Bill Brocious is shooting at fucking Wyatt Earp from like 5 feet away and unloads a gun and cannot hit him. Like something is intervening here. He gets across and he manages to hit the switch, but he finally ends up getting hit. And this sets Baze. Baze goes nuts. What does he do, Vinny?
If I remember correctly, he usually start like jumping out and firing like in everything.
He does the same thing. He goes over, and they had said earlier in the movie that Baze was at one point way more devout than Shure was.
Yes, I do remember that. Yeah,
but he's lapsed. He's like, an ex-Catholic or whatever. He goes over and he goes to Shure's body and he cradles him for a minute. And as he's cradling him, he starts to say the same mantra. And then instead of it being like him doing a passive thing, he then gets up and he just starts fucking cocking that that shotgun and just killing everything he can kill.
Unloading.
It's awesome. It's such a fucking good scene. The music is perfect.
Yep.
These two Star Wars characters that like didn't exist before this and haven't existed since have this one perfect moment. And then he gets killed as well.
Somebody sets off like a thermal detonator or something like that, like next to.
That's right.
And they still have it in their hand, and it's like next to his head.
Yes, he looks up. I think he kills the stormtrooper, and the guy falls with it, and it's what kills him.
Yeah.
So I want to go up to the space battle for a minute because we get one of the dopest space battle moments in any Star Wars movie ever, and it's courtesy of General Raddus. So eventually there's two Star Destroyers next to each other and one of them has totally lost power. General Raddus, being the fucking military mastermind he is, realizes this. And he knows he has the ability to do something that's going to be out of fucking control. Vinny, do you know what he does? Do you remember what he does here? Because it's fucking
If I
crazy.
remember correctly, he crashes into the Star Destroyer, doesn't he?
He calls in, he's like, give me the Hammerhead Corvette. And this ship that comes out of nowhere with it looks like a hammerhead.
Yeah.
They just drive into the Star Destroyer with the head of the ship and then turn their engines on full blast and push it into and through the active Star Destroyer.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah.
And they just start to fucking blow up and just shear into each other. And then they fall through the shield generator, destroying the shield generator. Cassian and Jin have now almost gotten off of that spire, but Krennic has shown up and he shot Cassian. So we think Cassian has possibly died. Jin gets out to where she can send the message out, but she can't get the message out because she has to readjust the antenna. Now, Vinny, here's the question for you. Have you ever seen the trailer where the TIE fighter rises up below her?
No, I don't think I have.
The original trailer for this movie, and this is claimed to have never supposedly have been supposed to be in the movie, but it was like, who knows with all the mess of this movie. When she walks out onto that bridge to go adjust the antenna, in the trailer, a TIE fighter rises up and like stops right in front of her. It's fucking dope. If you go on YouTube and look it up, it's incredible. It does not happen in the movie.
It's sort of like the Twin Towers Spider-Man.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think that was the same reasoning. I don't think
might have been a little different reasoning.
Was there a TIE fighter at 9/11?
Because of 9/11. Yeah.
I'm sorry. There was a TIE fighter at 9/11. Things just got weirder. She goes out, she adjusts it, she goes back, and she has her final confrontation with Krennic. And he asks her, "Who are you? What is that like? I'm the one.
I'm that little girl that you just dismissed and called it."
Yeah.
Like, what do you think now? That's what you get, fucker.
Yeah. Yeah. So she ends up, he's about to drop her before she could send the signal out. And, he's like, "You're not going to win." And at the last second, he gets blasted from behind, and we see that Cassian has survived, and manages to save the day for a little bit. When Cassian goes down, when Krennic goes down, Jyn wants to like fucking fuck his body to death, like punch him to death. She goes for his body, and Cassian's like, "It's over, it's over."
She wants to turn his face into pudding, like Inglourious Bastards again,
yes.
Like Hitler at the end. She wants to just fire until his face is just like mushy paste.
Let me borrow your gun for a second. Your blaster. Yeah. I'm going to blow this guy's fucking nose to the back of his head. So they go over, and she manages to get the plans out. The plans get out. But meanwhile, Vinny, as we mentioned before, something has jumped into hyperspace. What is it?
Death Star, yeah.
Yes, the Death Star shows up, and that's not good news, because the Imperials initially, they think when they show up, I think one of the Imperial officers is like, "Are we going to start targeting the fleet?" And Grand Moff Tarkin is like, "No, target the whole facility. Fuck it.
Take everything out.
Take everything out. We don't need any of this shit. We probably have the cloud, right? They got the cloud, like that.
Yeah, they have to.
It's superfluous." So, unfortunately, Jyn and Cassian get to the bottom of the building. The rest of their crew has been totally killed. The Rebel Alliance, a lot of them on the ground are dead. A lot of the Imperials are dead too. And they get down just in time to see, and Krennic gets to watch this happen, which is great. He's sitting up on that tower still mortally wounded, but he gets to see the Empire fuck him over and use his weapon to end his life. They blast the surface of Scarif, and Jyn and Cassian embrace, which is a great moment. Again, there's no smooching or anything like that. And he tells her, he's like, "Your father would be proud of you." And, we have this fucking heartfelt great moment where they're on the beach and they essentially just get eaten up by a mushroom cloud, which is crazy. Now, part of what I had heard in the original script is that none of the people except for K2SO were supposed to die.
Oh, really?
I don't know if that's true, but I've got to say, if that's true, they went the right way. Because,
they definitely did.
First of all, it makes this movie so much better that like these characters didn't make it. And it also makes it make sense. Like, this is why we kind of never have heard from these characters. The one line in Return of the Jedi, many Bothans died to get this information, whatever. But like this actually makes it like a sealed off single story. The Rebel fleet get the information. General Radis says, "We got to get out of here." He orders the fleet to hyperspace. 90% of the fleet get away, and then a fucking Star Destroyer shows up. And several of the ships, it's actually a pretty cool scene if you pay attention, hit the Star Destroyer as they're trying to leave. And Vinny, I'll let you finish us off with the ending of this movie, which ends up being the whole Vader massacre on the mothership of the Rebels.
Yeah, they bring you in, and all of a sudden it's basically, that opening scene from Episode 4, where it's hallways. You get a handoff. What do they call it? Like a hollow disc or whatever sci-fi gobbledygook they use. It's basically like a large like SIM card, I guess. You know what it reminds me of? I don't know if you ever played, but the TurboGrafx 16. used to have these little cards.
Yeah, actually, a friend of mine had that. Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah. So they had the little cards. It reminded me of one of those. It was kind of like a bigger card. It had, some traces, circuitry stuff on it. You get a couple of handoffs with the guys with the rebels with the white helmets and the brown trousers and the black boots and all that. They're kind of handing stuff off. I think they have. Yeah, they got the weird helmets and everything. And it's just a sea of those guys. And they're kind of playing handoff, and then Vader comes in and just fucks everything. Like, just awesome. Which I'm always kind of on the side of, I hate being manipulated. I hate pandering, sort of just like, you like this, hey, remember this? And it happens a lot throughout the movie. I don't think it's like gratuitous. I think they do it just enough. And this like is almost there, but it's just so fucking cool that I just loved it. And like you said, the lightsaber lights up. And he just cleans house, throwing guys up in the air, slashing through them left and right. And it brings you back to, I think they did a really good job to like bridge the gap and bring you back, to episode 4, to the first time you ever saw Star Wars. And, after the crawl, like it just goes right into that, which I think is great. And if I'm not mistaken, isn't that, It's on the ship, so basically it is like a different view of the opening of episode 4, is it not?
No, so the ship that he's killing everybody on is like the mothership, and then everybody that does get away from Vader takes off in the.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
They show that drop out of like the belly of the bigger ship.
That's right. I forgot about that.
My favorite slaughter moment. Is when the one guy's up against the door and Vader, you see it from the front, he stabs him through the door and then the door opens and cuts through him and through the guy. So yeah,
that's good.
I 100% agree with you. I think it is a pandering fan service moment, but it's there, but then it's also so fucking cool that I'm okay with being manipulated by it.
Cancels out the one because the other is just so.
Yeah. 100%.
It's like it's a good rule for people who make movies to live by. You can pander, but you got to make it cool enough that people who don't like that don't care about it.
Yeah.
Just make it that good. And if you're not going to, then don't bother with it. I don't know.
Bumblebee, the Transformers movie, this is just an aside. The first 5 minutes of the movie take place on Energon, and it shows you like all the stuff you haven't seen in the Transformers movies. And it's the same thing. It's very much oh, look, there's this one, there's that one, but it's also so fucking cool that it makes it worth it.
Right? Yeah, I think I remember that. It was the Bumblebee movie where isn't he a bug for like the first part of the movie? Like he's a beetle? He's
a beetle, then he turns to the Camaro. It's a prequel. It's the prequel to the first Transformers movie.
Yeah, it's one like John Cena's in it or something.
Yeah, it's honestly the only, in my opinion. I like the first Transformers movie fine. I saw the next two, I didn't like them, and I haven't seen anything since. Bumblebee was like worth watching, and that one moment was very much like the Vader moment, where it's pandering fan service, but at least it's so fucking cool, you're not going to forget about it.
It's a movie. It's a Transformers adjacent movie, somewhat like this is too.
Yes, Star Wars adjacent. Bumblebee, a Transformers story.
Yes.
We get the handoff, the ship takes off, and of course the door opens, we see Leia, and then one of the rebels says, we have news, and she says something, I can't remember what, like, oh, it's a new hope, or she.
Yeah, they drop hope. Hope is like, it's not really, I want to say it's peppered in, but it's a little bit too much not to be noticed, but not so much that I'm just like, Jesus Christ, like, will you just stop? We get it. A New Hope is the first movie. Like, they do it like maybe 4 times, I think. They emphasize hope, and you're like, all right, I get it.
I hope this movie makes a lot of money. Yeah. All right, so that is us talking for Amanda Kennedy, Pint Insider, all about a Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Amanda, I hope this is one of your favorites. I didn't check on that. I know you're a Star Wars fan. I hope this isn't like the one that you would least want to hear me talk about. Like,
hopefully you like this movie, Amanda, and you appreciate, the all the stuff that they have in it where they didn't go too over the edge. Like we said, I think most of the stuff in here is very tasteful, like fan service stuff.
All right, let's talk about the box office of this thing.
Show me the money.
Just looking good, but I think I'm taking too long.
Back to the spot for a Glock. I took a loss over floss, but still got a knock.
All right, so December 16th to December 18th of 2016, this film had a modest $200 million budget. The number 5 movie that weekend, it had been out for 5 weeks. It made $5 million. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, the Harry Potter adjacent movie.
Yeah.
Number 4, it opened that week at $7.1 million. You are a brave movie to open the week of a Star Wars movie. I had to look this up. It's called Collateral Beauty. It's a Will Smith movie, but this was like, I think at the end of the Will Smith, like being a major star run. I don't even know what the fuck this is, but it's Will
This
Smith.
isn't the Margot Robbie one, right?
No, that's a different one. That's, I can't remember the name of it, but I thought that's what this was. It is not. Number 3, out for 2 weeks, $8.6 million, Office Christmas Party.
I think I saw that. I don't really remember.
I did. It was fine. It's like a forgettable comedy. It was fine. Number 2, out for 4 weeks, $12.7 million. And I had no clue that this Disney Kids movie was this old. I feel like the sequel came out like 2 years ago or a year ago. I feel like this was 4 years old. This is like almost 10 years old. Moana.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I don't know shit about Moana, but I just didn't think it was this old.
I didn't think so either.
Yeah, it is. And opening at number 1, obviously, duh, at $155 million, going on to gross over $1 billion.
Oh, wow.
It is Star Wars Rogue One, whatever the fuck this is called. Rogue One. It's Rogue One. Get off my fucking back. All right, let's rate this fucking thing.
Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Bring the noise.
0 to 5, 0 being the worst thing ever, 5 being the best thing ever, quarter and half scale optional. I'll go first. I'm going to make it pretty quick because we talked a lot about this movie on this one. I've always really liked this movie. This is the best thing that they've done movie-wise as far as Star Wars goes in the Disney era. That's not really saying a lot, but it's still the best thing. This is a movie that I enjoy from front to back, but I have to admit, the last 30 minutes makes the grade go up exponentially. Because the last 30 minutes, once they get to Scarif and when everything happens, whoever directed this movie in the long run, Gareth Edwards, Tony Gilroy, whoever wrote it in the long run, whoever edited it and put it the way they did an excellent job, particularly with that last 30 minutes, that last like attack scene. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know who's going to die. You don't know if they're going to be able to, you know that the plans to the Death Star get out there, but like you don't know how it's going to happen in this movie. And I didn't expect them all to die the first time I saw it. That's a really good sign of a movie, is when I walk out of the theater like, holy shit, that happened. But yeah, it's got a lot of touching, heartfelt moments, good father-daughter stuff. A lot of, like, Andor has a lot of good moments where he's just kind of talking about the rebellion and what it means to him and why it's important to him. And we get to see, again, this is a Star Wars movie that like really emphasizes the horrors of like the wars, like the horrors of like what it means to be fighting in this stuff and fighting for your life. And, in this like totalitarian, it all sounds too real nowadays, but like the Empire, it's kind of like a little bit more in its infancy at this point. And these people are just trying to fight to live. And, we get to see how not everybody has the same conviction. We think the Rebel Alliance is this one thing from the first 3 movies. And in this movie, we get to see a lot of them like, fuck it, I give up. I don't want to fight. Let's just fucking bow. A lot of great effects in this movie. As Vinny said, we talked about it. A lot of, oh, look at that. The fucking, the walkers show up, the AT-ATs, and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, just little things that make you,
Yeah. It works. It doesn't necessarily all feel like fan service. Yes, running into Pig-Faced Doctor and Walrus Man, that feels like fucking fan service. But, the AT-ATs and other things just feel like we're living in a universe. So, it isn't a 5 for me, but it's pretty high for me. I'm going to go with a 4.5 stars here for Rogue One. Vinny, what do you got for it?
I have a weird, like I started to talk about it before, but I have a weird thing with Star Wars. I love the original trilogy. Wasn't crazy about the prequels. They came out when I was in like college, so I was sort of like, whatever. I think I went to see the first one with my parents. Maybe I think I saw the second one maybe in the theaters. By the time the third one came out, I just watched it on my computer in my dorm room. And I was like, that happened. I watched it, whatever. the sequels came out, the newer Disney ones, I heard Disney bought it, and I was like, they're going to make another one, and I was super psyched. I went to go see The Force Awakens, and I just didn't feel. I was like, maybe I'm missing something, but that just felt like I watched an updated version of Episode 4. So I wasn't as keen on it, and watching the rest of them, I still haven't actually seen whatever Episode 9 is. What is it? Rise of Skywalker? Rise of Skywalker. I still haven't seen that yet. I've just heard so many bad things, and I don't want it tainting my view of everything else. But it made me appreciate the prequels. Like, these sequels have made me go look at the prequels and go, maybe I was a little too harsh on you. Like, it still feels like Star Wars to an extent. It feels more like Star Wars, I feel, than the newer stuff does. And I don't know exactly what that is. They are a CGI mess, so like it doesn't look like the original trilogy, but there's something there. Right. I don't know if it's George's weird, whatever, but there's something there that makes it feel like Star Wars movies. Maybe enough time has passed. Maybe that's all I need for the new ones. This one came out. I went to go see it not expecting much. So maybe that did something, and my expectations were very low, and I walked away from it like fairly high. I was pretty psyched on it. Watching it again, I don't feel exactly the same, so maybe I needed some time in between. I don't remember if it was before or after that. I had seen Monsters. I didn't know who Gareth Edwards was before that. I had a friend recommend the movie to me, and if you haven't, you've seen it, but if anybody else hasn't seen it, it's basically like I'm trying to think of it. It's like a drama with the backdrop of Starship Troopers, like the big bugs.
Yeah, it's like it's like a kaiju movie. Yeah,
it's basically a kaiju movie, but it's about these two people. It's more of a it's more about them than it is about the whole big picture. And I was like, this guy is really good at doing that, and he's also done Godzilla. And this, I think Godzilla is the bigger failure in the fact that I think there's like a good personal story you can kind of tell in there, and I feel like the originals were more based on, it was more the human interaction. Anyway, Gareth Edwards, I feel like is good at doing that, and here it was tampered with. If you could do something a little bit more like Monsters, where I felt like there was personal, like a drama you could tell in there, and the Star Wars universe would just be the backdrop, and this would be the plot and stuff like that. I felt it was touched on, but I also feel like the studio maybe, like you said before, it kind of makes sense. I feel like it pulled some of that away from him. Like, you're telling too small of a story. We need a bigger story. So we're going to put in more laser blasts and fighting and all this other stuff, where you're trying to tell like a very personal drama, and we're not keen on that. Like, we don't want to do that. I could be completely wrong. Maybe this is the route he went, but I've always felt this way about Star Wars. And when, funny enough, was that The Purge? When The Purge came out, I went and saw it and went, that's a great universe, and you decided to tell that story, and that you set up this cool like universe that this exists in, and that's the story you told. Little did I know they were going to go out and kind of use it to, like, not an anthology, but sort of like they would tell different stories in this one universe.
They fleshed it out, yeah.
Yeah, and I've always wanted that with Star Wars. I've always wanted to see, like, I was like, I would love like a road trip movie in Star Wars, like a buddy cop movie. Like, I would love to see two stormtroopers, like a buddy cop movie with two stormtroopers. Like, even though, they're the bad guys, whatever, you could just make it personal about them and kind of put that aside or whatever. But like, you have this universe you could tell so many stories in, and I felt like that's what they kind of tried to do here. They tried to make it a little less Star Wars. Maybe he tried to do it a little less Star Wars. And I feel this is more dramatic. And also the actors that they put in this movie, like, they don't get to go to their full potential. I mean, all of them have been in amazing stuff, especially like Matt Mikkelsen is just great in everything. If you, there's a movie called The Hunt that he was in. I don't know if you heard of or seen it.
I don't think so.
He's like a teacher, and he gets accused of doing some stuff with students, and you're like throughout the movie you're not sure if he did or didn't. And I don't know, it's just a really good movie, and he's really great in it, and he's great in everything. I don't feel he gets to really do all that much. And the moments he has are good. You know, even the hologram thing, that's good. Felicity Jones gets a moment with the hologram. She kind of does a little crying thing, and I was like, that's almost too dramatic for Star Wars, like going over the edge. And then everybody else in it is super great, and I feel like they had potential to do something even better. At a certain point, I feel like this is almost like a Dungeons and Dragons story. Like you have all the little pieces. Like you have a pilot who's sort of a rogue character.
Oh, okay. Like
then everybody has that. You have a monk. You have all these different people in the group. And at one point, I turned to Laura and I was like, why did they go? Why did the two guys? I can't remember their names now.
Shuret and Balbus. Yeah.
Why are they with them now? Like they saved them, but then they got arrested together. Why do they? I mean, is it him going? The Force is pulling me to them. Like I have to assist that. Maybe, but they don't really specify. He doesn't say anything about that, so I just have to assume. But it's sort of everybody just gets thrown, and you're like, all right, you're all in a ship together. Like this is where there's a DM, just going, you're all together. Like you figure it out. What do you do? Kind of thing. Nobody ever dies in Star Wars. Like even when they do, they'll, there's a Force ghost of them. Unless even, I don't remember if did she die before this came out? Did Carrie Fisher die? I don't remember.
It was it was very close. It was very close in that time period.
Yeah, because I remember it was in between episode 1 and 2, right?
2 and...
Or was it 2 and 3?
2 and 3, I think, yeah.
Because she does when did she do the Superman in space thing?
That was 2. Yeah.
That was 2, okay. So she died in between 2 and 3. So I guess it was a little bit before, but like, even with her technically not being around anymore, they still can put her in the movies, obviously. Peter Cushing's not here anymore, and he was in a large enough portion of the movie. So it's not like they can't, bring anybody back. But this felt like, I think, as singular a story as Star Wars can be told in the Star Wars universe. I'm gonna say, sorry, it was a very long-winded way of coming around and saying, I'm gonna give it a 3.25, like 3.25.
Okay. I was excited, even though you were going on for a while, because I didn't know where you were going to land. As I was listening to that, everything you would say, I'm like, oh, he's going up to like a 4. Now he's at a 2.
Bringing you on a journey.
You brought me on a journey. I like that. I enjoyed that.
There's a lot of things about this movie I like, and sometimes I'm even. It's funny because me and Laura will rate stuff on Letterboxd, and I'm usually, which is weird because I feel like I'm a harsher critic on a lot of stuff. I'm usually a half star above where she is, but then there's some other things where she's like, "How could you rate that so low?" And I'm like, "Oh, this is terrible, and that's terrible. That's unbelievable." And I feel like I'm harsh on certain things, and I feel I'm a little maybe too hard on Star Wars stuff because I love it so much. Maybe if I had seen this, if I didn't know anything about Star Wars, I was completely new. Somebody showed me this movie. I don't know how much sense it would make, but I might rate it a little bit higher. But I think they basically got to what they were going for. I don't think all the way. I think it had a little bit more potential maybe in certain places. But what movies can't you say? There's a slew of movies that are like almost perfect, but they could use that 1 or 2 more things. And, very few just do everything they set out to do. And I think this got pretty close. So I think for me, like, an okay, like fairly entertaining movies, like, 2.5 out of 5, 2 to 3, 2.5 to 3 is just like, that was fine. So I feel this was better than that. It held my attention. There were some great moments in it. Like you said, that Vader moment is just
it's awesome. It is awesome.
You can't be a kid who saw Star Wars and not look at that and go, "Oh fuck, that's so cool."
Yeah. So Vinny gives it a 3.25. I give it a 4.5. Definitely well worth watching, and I'm sure everybody out there has probably seen it if you meant to see it. But yeah, this has been a lot of fun, Vinny. I'm going to tell everybody where to find the pint, and then we're going to go. But we'll have you back on very soon. If you haven't heard Vinny on before, if you're a Pint Insider, go to Patreon/The Pint, and you can find him doing the Cyborg episode, the JCVD Cyborg episode with me. If you are not a member of the Pint, I just gave you how to get there. It's $2.50 a month. It'll be a lot of fun for you.
Definitely do it. I'm hilarious, obviously. So you'll have a really good time. If you're not already an insider, go and do it. I am. I have a fun time listening to you guys. It's like listening to a friend, so it gives me a little bit of comfort at work when I'm not in the best of moods.
Go to any of your podcatchers and find the Pint, a Pop Culture Podcast. Go to YouTube. Same thing. Pint, the Pint, a Pop Culture Podcast. And Instagram is the only social media we have. Oh, Threads too. They're tied together. At the Pint Pop. So until next time, I say it. See ya.
Bye.
It's over, Johnny. It's over! Nothing is over! Nothing! You just don't turn it off!